Peace, peace. Abargani, Islam, Salam, Hetepu, Rahubat, Gino Lako Ninani, Chief Noble Bandele, and Lamine back in the building. Today, we're going to be going through a few Moorish and Indigenous lessons, all right? So we're going to get in that today. Before we get into any of that, I apologize for being late. I was supposed to come on earlier today, but I did have some things going on. But before we get in this video, please check out all our videos. You know what I mean? Like, check our past videos. Please subscribe to the channel. And please like this video. We need all of that for our algorithm, to build this thing, right? So, we're not going to get too far into this thing, though, but I just want y'all to please check us out. Today, like I said, we about to get into these indigenous lessons. We're trying to bring that TikTok, that conscious TikTok, that Moorish TikTok to the forefront of everything, all right? So what we're going to get into today, we're going to get into a few of these indigenous studies. We're going to look at citizenship. We're going to look at the indigenous people in the Americas. We're going to look at Moorish science. We're going to look at all that, right? We're going to get into a little bit of, Islamic, what they call so-called Black Islam in America. Well, I call Melanated Islam in America. So we're going to look at all that today. This is all our Moorish and Indigenous lessons for the day, all right? So I'm going to cut my screen down. We're going to get into this, man. Y'all stay with me, man. Follow along with me. So let's see. This first one we're going to get into. I want y'all to check this out. All right, let's see. Make sure everything is good. Let's go. Y'all see what it is. Let's go.
15th Amendment secret meetings. And you know me, Yeti had to get in on it and why it's so secretive, because you haven't been hearing about it, right? They use some phrases in there like Aborigines, African descent, right? Now I go look it up. And guess who are the Aborigines? You and I. But it gets a little more deeper. Let me show you these receipts. Let me show you these receipts, baby.
Let's go.
The truth is coming out. Now, the Supreme Court had ruled that nobody, literally nobody, and I marked it in yellow, is not a citizen of the United States. All the immigrants are considered citizens of Washington, D.C. So they've been using us all along, right? Because I'm going to show you the word Aborigines, where they took out the 14th Amendment in a minute, but they've been using us. And this is what I mean. The 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment are considered the second constitution for so-called African Americans. So we have our own constitution. So what they've been doing, they've been using us, piggyback off of us, telling us, well, we got citizenship too. But no, they only got citizenship in Washington, D.C. Now, this receipts I'm about to show you, keep in mind that no Native Americans became citizens until 1924. So keep that in mind. Now, take a screenshot. Take a screenshot because this is very important. Take a screenshot. Now, take a screenshot again because I had to cut it down. Before the 14th Amendment explicitly, right, excludes Aborigines. Who is the Aborigines? Who? Understood as the indigenous peoples of the Americas. And those of African descent from citizenship. Now, hold up. If the Native Americans didn't become citizens until 1924, well, then who's the Aborigines then? You and I. What? And as you can see, I'm not lying, right? Aborigines, African Americans, and Native Americans. Is it starting to make sense why these meetings are so quiet? Because the lady, she was asked specifically, do you know who the Aborigines is? She said, yeah, These was the first peoples to landmass. Then they got quiet. So they speaking in codes, and I caught that, and I went to go look it up. And as you can see, they got cults. So they piggybacking off of us, man. Woo! The truth is coming out. Man.
All right. So if put something in the comments, you know, if y'all hearing this, listening, put this in the comments. You know, I just want to know what y'all think. You know, a lot of us don't know about the 13th or 14th Amendment. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us don't know about the 13th and 14th Amendments. So 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. You know, how many of y'all know about 13th, 14th, or 15th Amendments? That's my point. Like, a lot of us don't even understand those constitutional amendments that pertain to melanated people and indigenous people. Those pertain particularly to us. All right. So I just want to get y'all into that. So like I said, we got a little mix going on today. We got a little bit of everything in this and that, you know. And we go, like I said, we're gonna talk a little bit about Islam too. I couldn't start out this Islam unless I had Malcolm X. You know what I mean? So this is a short clip, but we're gonna get into a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it.
If Martin Luther King, Roy Wilkins, or any of these compromising Negroes who say exactly what the white man wants to hear is interviewed anywhere in the country, you don't get anybody to offset what they say. But whenever a black man stands up and says something that white people don't like, then the first thing that white man does is run around to try and find somebody to say something to offset what has just been said. This is natural.
Now, I just wanted to play, like I said, I just wanted to play Malcolm real quick. You know, always, you know, Ashe to our ancestor, brother Malcolm, or El Malik, El Shabazz, Ashe. But the brother is speaking that truth, you know. So I just wanted to bring that energy out here because we about to go, you know, into another part of this. So let's look at this. I wanted to show this as well, since we're talking about Islam. Hopefully this don't be skipping around. Hopefully this will play. But what you got, I want to hear what you guys got to say about this. And like I said, this is not a shot personally to Nation of Islam. I got a lot of brothers in the Nation of Islam. We got a lot of brothers in the temple that's Nation of Islam. So I don't have any personal issues with any of the brothers or the teachings per se of the nation, because it's helped a lot of brothers. But you know, I'm open to talk about anything, you know, Moors, you know, anything that shows some insight on things. All right. So let's look at this.
Did not by a black man, but by a white British man born in New Zealand, immigrated to New Jersey, okay, who they call Mustafa Muhammad, a false messiah. That's Farrakhan's God. But he was born Wally Dard Ford, or Wallace Ford. Now, according to the FBI, Farrakhan's God has over 1,000 different aliases. He moves to New Jersey, joins the Moorish Science Temple of America with Noble Drew Ali. Then the Moorish Science Temple of America moves to Chicago, and Farrakhan's God, Wallace Dard Ford, goes to Los Angeles here and works in a restaurant, murders a man, ends up in San Quentin. This is the founder of the Nation of Islam, moves to Portland, Oregon, and then eventually moves back to Chicago to join the Moorish Science Temple of America with Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali gets set up by the Chicago BD for murder, and then he gives his congregation over to this young white New Zealander who is Farrakhan's God, whom they call Mustafa Muhammad, whose real name is Wallace Dard Ford. And then Noble Jew Ali ends up getting murdered, which forces Wallace Dart Ford to run to Detroit, Michigan in 1933. This is all a part of the Boule Secret Society.
Okay. So check D. Did y'all anybody study any of the brothers who's in the Nation of Islam? Please, comment. I would like to hear, your understanding and explanation of Walid D. Muhammad. And I always wondered that because he's a very, very light individual, and it's like he's supposed to be Allah in person, right? So it's very interesting that Allah in person is the complexion that he is. Shout out to all my brothers out there that's in the NOI, though. I'm just pointing things out, that I see, not to get into anything, but let's keep going. I'm gonna put one more in before I go to an ad. Let's look at this next clip. Like I said, this is all about Moors. It's about indigenous. It's about Islam. So we're gonna look at this. This is our lessons for the day. It's our time for us to do our studies. All right. So let's look at this one right here.
I'm gonna make this real quick. I don't want to show the whole map. Okay. Anyway,
let's make sure this play out right. Let's make sure this play out.
A lot of people don't believe there's only 5 federal recognized tribes today, right? Only 5.
Only 5.
5. Okay, now how many of these tribes are not here anymore?
You ain't lying.
And the people of these tribes are not labeled as African American. And it would be crazy if you find out how many of these tribes are actually African Americans today.
Interesting.
Especially down in Florida, Georgia, over here in Mississippi.
Now, I know I keep pausing, but I want you to think about it. Like, we looking at this map, and there are, probably hundreds of native tribes that were here. And we don't really know anything about 90% of these tribes. Like, I see Chickasaw right here. We know about Chickasaw. We know Choctaws and this and that. But, like, there are a lot. If we just look at this, y'all just look at it, there's a lot of these tribes that we don't know anything about. So, let me see.
Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina. And I didn't put the lines in there because it was just so many tribes. And when we started doing when we started doing the state tribes, it was so many tribes in the state, we couldn't even get them all in. It's like it was crazy.
This is crazy.
So I stopped doing maps. This was a very, very, very detailed process. But like I said, a lot of these tribes are not here anymore. The people was enslaved.
Right.
And today,
look at all these tribes.
People are so-called African American. Look at that. Look at their hair. Everybody hair like that is not from Africa. Y'all have a good night. I'm out of here. Peace.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Let's think about it. like I said, there's so many tribes. There's so much history that we just don't know. So it's like we really got to do our study even here. We have been really been misplaced to not even look at America's history pre-colonial times. You know what I mean? So I just think that's crazy. But let me keep moving. Now I got a couple like this brother right here. I'm gonna show you. Y'all probably familiar with Ali Muhammad. I remember Ali. This brother used to be in the Nation of Islam, or used to be in some affiliate with the Nation. He also, y'all probably seen him on Sod Netter TV, things of that nature. But let me see. Let's see what he's talking about, because we're going into it now. I know a lot of people believe, and I'm not saying that we're not. I also had that belief. You can find a lot of our videos that discuss indigenous people being melanated. A lot of people don't want to hear that, want to dispel it. We got a lot of people out here that's troll and everything, but there's something to that. You know what I mean? And even though I don't look at like we're all from here, but there is something. There are dark-skinned people that were here in America, right? But there's a lot of misleading information out there. And so I just wanted y'all to check this out. Y'all tell me what y'all think, all right? Thumbs up. Put a thumb up in the video.
Address it. Is ancient America ancient Egypt? Is this time Mary? And I'm going to address very poor scholarship and sensationalism. Here's the map. You see the word right here. Americans Jews van Florida. So they'll take a map like this and say this is Tamari. However, this is Dutch. And Dutch is not a native language to the Americas. It's not a native language to Egypt. It's not a native language to any of the indigenous tribes here. So why would we use a Dutch term that we don't understand to try to say this is Tamari? It's called sensationalist scholarship. So let me break this down.
Let's break it down.
So let's first source the map. You see it here, Leyden 1706. It has the phrase for the map, for the title, gives the author, and just gives some color information. So you know where this is from. This is Dutch. Further, let's get some details on the man. Pieter van der A was a Dutch map maker and publisher who printed pirated editions of foreign bestsellers and illustrated books, but is best known for his voluminous outputs of maps and atlases. Van der A was born to a German stonecutter from Holstein. Interestingly, all three Van der A's sons came to be involved in the printing business. This is Dutch. This is not Egyptian. This is not ancient American. Watch this. So let's put the Dutch phrase into the translator and what we get. Tamericans does not mean Timeri. It means the American Jews, territory of Florida. So now let's go to the real Timeri, because I made a statement that the word Moor is the etymological origin of Timeri, which is the name for the place we call in ancient Egypt. Here we have a stele at El Ashmin, and what does it say? Nasut sin katif merif tut ankh aten shepes. So what does all that mean? It means a lot. But the king's bodily son, his Mere. Mary does not mean beloved. Mary does not mean, it means his heir. And the reason why they use a plow is to imply the land. He is an inheritor of the land, the estate of the king prior to him, and of his ancestors, who they call Sheps. Here it is again. Mera, Meri, the plow. And then we understand this word should sometimes be translated as beloved. I don't know where y'all got that weird translation from. This is dealing with jurisdiction, bruh. The word mer meant jurisdiction, and it is the etymological root of the term Moor. This is why I'm saying that the lineage of people who call themselves Moors must understand where the word comes from. It comes from Ta Meri. Here you see a pre-Dynaxis stele. He's carrying the plow. It meant Mer. Ta Meri is in Africa. It is not in America. There are no ancient maps with Ta Meri on it, and it is completely pseudo. It is poor scholarship. It is poor methodology, It is sensationalism, and it is colonization because you refuse to study what was here. And what was here in America is obvious, but y'all don't want to study the language. You want to be lazy. And so go find me, Ty Mary, in this script. You will not be able to find it. It is not there. Please stop disrespecting my ancestors by making up generic things and trying to make us Hebrews and Egyptians and all kinds of other stuff. We interacted with those people. Here we can begin to show proof. Here we have the She, classical Mayan civilization, Olmec skulls, and South American skulls. I can even show you this in the American Southeast, where when the explorers came in the 1700s, they called the people the flatheads because we were doing cranial deformation. Here it is in Africa. It's done throughout Africa still today. And so this is cross-cultural contact pre-Columbus. We can show you the plant life being shared, the trade, etc. We interacted with Africans, but we are not African. We even married, and there was miscegenation between Aboriginals and Africans. In fact, when you go and read Columbus's second page of his journal, he talks about the kings, the Mayan kings, writing to the Pope. The world that you have constructed based on colonization is the problem. You want to make everything in ancient America fit into some Eastern scheme of things that you've been taught because you refuse to study. America is not Egypt. I got to address it.
All right, let me go to
ancient America, ancient Egypt. Is this Tom Mary?
Yes.
And I'm going to address very poor scholarship and sensationalism.
On IndigenousMoors.org, your one-stop shop for indigenous needs. All right. So we back, man. Y'all check out my books on IndigenousMoors.org, or you can check them out on Amazon.com. All right. So let's keep this rolling. We're gonna get more into some understanding of indigenous and this collaboration with Moorish. All right. This, if you study Moorish science, you're gonna run into indigenous history. It's just it's just how it's set up. All right. So let's see if this play. I want to see if this play right. Let's go. Let's see.
Indian was substituted for Moorish. Game changer. So you Indians that's wondering why your great-grandparents didn't tell you was a Moor, is because it was substituted in 1621. Your grandparents was in the 1800s. It was already substituted by then. But here it's telling you in 1621 the word Indian was substituted for Moorish. The people who was Moors were called Indian. After the 5 civilized tribes converted, and with the war with the rest of the Moors, enslaving them, people started converting from being a Moor to being an Indian. Game changer. After this, I really don't even want to hear Indians talk no more until they can start debunking this stuff that I'm dropping. I got love for the Indians because you are Moors. But you have to realize and stop fighting the information. Jump down that rabbit hole and find out who you are. It's right here. So this also means any treaty signed after this date, 1621, that has Indian in it, is because it was after 1621. Let me see any treaty before 1621. Really not gonna find it because most treaties were signed in the 1800s. By then, name was already reclassified. This goes hand in hand with George Washington when he said, take away the fezzes and the turbans and the sandals, and the Moors will forget where they came from. We have forgotten. Now we're doing the proper steps to get back into our proper status and our proper name and nation. We are Moors. America!
All right. So tell me what y'all think about that.
Right here it says case
All right,
191 in 1848. Don't look this up. You can see it yourself.
So what y'all think about that? I'm gonna tell you some of this. I don't know. Some of this maybe have been debunked, you know, especially when they talk about what George Washington said, things of that nature. I don't like, from what I've heard, that wasn't true. But I will say, you know, the United States does not own the land, the ancient mound builders of North America. That's a true statement in my opinion, because I mean the ancient mound builders go back, you know, before any colonialization. You know what I mean? So I agree with that. You know, there, like I said, this is more studies. We're here to study. We're here to figure everything out. I'm here to teach and to show the Moorish way. All right. So let's keep it going. I got my brother again. The brother be having some good videos, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. Like when we talk about the word slave, you know, as Moorish Americans, we begin to understand what slavery versus enslavement, and the fact that can we be slaves as melanated people? Can we, and our ancestors have been called slaves? So this video break it down to you. Let's get into it. All right, let's go.
Slav and slave have one origin, and that is with the pale people of Europe. The problem with the world's racist systems is that they promote an agenda to revise history and impact the psychology of some people adversely, while falsely attributing things to people that never accomplished those things. History is going to be the thing that resets the global psychology to destroy racism and to put everyone on equal footing. The word slave originates from the term Slav, referring to people of Slavic origin who were frequently enslaved in the Middle Ages, particularly in the Byzantine Empire. And this Byzantine Empire is known as the Holy Roman Empire, and it was led by Black people, ruled by Black people, started by Black people, you melanin people. The Latin word for Slav, sclavus, was used to refer to captives taken from the Slavic regions and sold into slavery or slavery. This term evolved into Middle Age sklav and eventually into the modern word slave. And so in American curriculums, when we think about slavery, the first thing that pops up in our head is Black Americans. Also, when we think about terms like Negro, first thing that pops up in our head is Black Americans. The problem with that is it is propaganda. It is false in history. The word Negro is necro, which means something dead, foul. And this term also originated with these pale Europeans. And they're on my posts. They're all around my social media upset only because I'm telling the truth. And not one can defeat the argument. As a matter of fact, let's let one of their scholars tell you where the word Slav comes from.
There is a large ethnic and linguistic group in Europe and in many parts of the world as well called the Slavs. A member of this ethnic group is called a Slav. This lesson will be about Slavic countries. Together, the Slavs make up hundreds of millions of people all over the world and are the largest ethnic and linguistic group of people in all of Europe. Slavs and the countries in which they reside are divided into three main sections. They are the East Slavs, which include those living in Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine; the West Slavs, which include those living in the Czech Republic, Poland, and Slovakia; and the South Slavs, which are those living in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, and Slovenia.
So there you have it, proof from the video itself. And even the names of the countries: Slovakia, Slovenia, Czechoslovakia. The word slave has its origin, association, and the history of these Pale Europeans is the origin of the term, because they experienced the longest slavery of any people on earth. You're not learning about that in school, and you should if we had curriculums that are not racist. But let's go down here to Montenegro, because the word Negro is usually associated with people of dark skin. However, the Latin origins is Necro. And you need to know that because it's going to detail something about history that's very significant. So here we have one of the countries, Montenegro. English name derives from a Venetian calque of the Montenegrin. All right. And they have these words here, but it generally means Black Mountain. And they say it means Black Mountain because of evergreen forests. The word does not mean Black Mountain because necro, which is the origin, does not mean black. Well, what does it mean? And once we find out what it means, it will explain what was going on in these mountains, Monte Necro, and who were the people and what type of lifestyle they come from. So just some words. Necro, as in necrosis, death of cells or tissue through disease or injury. Keep the disease in mind. Necrophiliac, necrophilia, also known as necrophilism, necrolagnia, necrocoitus, necrochalesis, and thanatophilia is a sexual attraction or acts involving corpses. Where is the origin of people sleeping with corpses come from? What we will learn by studying history is that the entire history of sexually transmitted diseases comes from people practicing bestiality, necrophilia, and other savage behaviors. What we do know is the indigenous, the primal, the first and the most classical advanced civilizations in the Americas, where we had the hue melanated people. We never practiced these things in the ancient She, Olmec Mayan civilization, or throughout the indigenous parts of Africa. But we do know once we go up into Europe and parts of Asia that we get this going on. 2 or 3 of the major STIs in humans have come from animals we know. For example, that gonorrhea came from cattle to humans. Syphilis also came to humans from cattle or sheep many centuries ago. This is one of your gods, Pan. What is he doing? In all of your scriptures, you have these people around animals. Not necessarily just for husbandry, they're having sex with the animals. This is the beginning of the necrosis factor. We don't have to make anything up. We also find these types of images in Asia after invasion. All right. At Khajuraho, Madhya temples in India. These are not our people doing this. But this history is superimposed on us as if we're savage people. We are becoming savage because we're following the ways of foreigners. So Montenegro has nothing to do with Black people, mountains and Black people. It's Montenegro. It is the mountains where these people were pushed up into and left. They became the world's most largest group of slaves. And that slavery lasted all the way up into the American Revolution. The American Revolution is when they broke away from slavery, from their British Black monarchs, from the Moorish Empire, and they used help from various native tribes to gain that freedom, which is etched into their history. So we're not making this up. Academics know that this exists. Your curriculums don't teach it. The books are all over the internet. They're sourced. You can get the history. Then you can start getting the indigenous literature to make the corrections. We're not here to teach people how to have sex. We're here to teach them history, culture. These are creative things. But what we do want our people to understand is, what was your original culture when you were not subjected to racism, discrimination, and all of the social pressures that make you feel like you're something that you're not. And what you're not is you're not a Negro. That word has a behavioral, identifiable origin in history. You're not a slave. You never were. You're a prisoner of war, and that's just something different. These people were not in jurisdictions, they were savages living in the mountains. The truth is, we're not the same, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that the people who are in power now, who have been in power for a short time, don't want us to be ourselves or have the voice to explain to the world who we are. It was imperative for them to have the power to tell the world who we were. That day is over. And this is why you're upset. You're upset because your entire world, biological sciences, evolutionary sciences, political sciences, history, etc., is built upon deception. And because we are no longer going for it, some of you are upset. Here's my recommendation. Either become a better human being and accept the truth, or just leave the people who are telling the truth alone. We'll mind our business, y'all mind your business. But know and understand the word Slav, slave, and Pale Europeans goes hand in hand. And the word Negro, which comes from necro, is your history, not ours.
Yo, y'all got that? Check. Heavy. I have to say it's heavy, man. Like this, the brainwashing that's been done on us, and that's why we as Moors are, changing the history. As Moors, we're not looking at ourselves as slaves. We were never slaves because that term is not even for us. Ain't that right? So, let's get back to this next video. About to show you what it is. Let's get to it. All right. So now we moving on a little bit to a different, a little bit of a different section. All right. We're going to look at this video. And this is for a lot of the Moors and a lot of people out here who, get the pre-checks and the global pre-check. A lot of the Moors are getting like, it's not the pre-check, but it's what's it called? Y'all, if y'all know what I'm talking about, put it in the chat. But it's they're using it to travel. They're saying that we can use this to travel on, versus getting driver's license or things of that nature, right? But this is just a little information for y'all to check out. Y'all let me know what you think. All right, let's get it. Let me hold up. Let me make sure I got it together. Let's get this together. Y'all like this video? Please like and subscribe to the channel if y'all new to the channel. All right, let's get this.
Hall that people who've signed up for the speedier passage through TSA have also waived a very important right. What have they signed away?
So when individuals enroll in TSA PreCheck or Global Entry, they actually sign a release granting the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI unrestricted, warrantless access to all their personal data. Health records, physical, mental, social media, communications, court history, anything they want, they have access indefinitely. And this sweeping surrender of privacy is in the fine print few people ever really read. So the people end up giving up their permanent rights or their rights permanently for the convenience of maybe a little bit faster time in line.
Right.
All right. Did y'all hear that? So, anybody getting those pre-checks so they can get up out of here, getting this pre-check or global pre-check, y'all waiving your rights. Don't even know. That's why it's very important for y'all to read the contracts. Read these contracts. So, this next video, this is, I think, the last of the video for the night. But last but not least, all right, we could say that. This video is about the real ID. Now, so so much. I'm just gonna say too, the real ID, the Real ID Act has been around since 9/11, since what 2001, 2. The whole idea of it, and it's taken them over 20 years. Okay, because really, the states were fighting against it the whole time. A lot of the states have been fighting against having a national ID, and now it's finally here. And a lot of people think that they got to get the Real ID Act to travel, to go international, things of that nature. And so a lot of people have gotten them, but this is a warning. So I'm just let y'all check this out. I'm not saying no more. Let's go.
So there are about 110 million Americans who have not chosen to do the Real ID, and all 110 of them and everybody else should choose never to do the Real ID. If you already have one, if you've got a gold star on, go and get a standardized driver's license. If you're afraid of flying, go get your passport. But do not take the Real ID, because the whole idea here, the state of Pennsylvania asked Trump to shut down this program. Yep. They call it a usurpation of states' rights. Yep. The federal government has taken over driving and identification over the entire country. And they're going to take all of your primary identification documents and keep them for themselves. You're going to have to give them your social security number, your birth certificate, and your marriage certificate, and they will hold them. They've never had them before. You are essentially recertifying yourself as an American, and then they want to put this and digitize it, put it on your phone, and be able to shut down your access anytime you do something they don't like. This is not a simple ID card, and this is probably going to move into the global UN identification system that the UN wants to create for the entire world. This is your opportunity to shut this down.
Guys, check this out.
So there are about 110 million Americans.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? So now I'm gonna look at this a couple ways. She was saying that, okay, first of all, it's an invasion of privacy. It's also that you got the federal government taking authority over the states. Now, the states are sovereign on themselves. Each state is its own sovereign nation in itself. And so now the federal government is coming in and taking what was once a state right. Okay. The states give out driver's license. Now the federal government is getting involved and they want all your information. So now you got to give them all your information. Okay. You don't have to give them. You do not need a Real ID to get on a plane internationally. You can still use a passport. The passport is still the better form of identification. This new identification, she said, is recertifying you as an American. So is it changing your status again? See, every time you sign these kind of contracts and documents, whether it's a regular state driver's license or Social Security or any of these things, it changes your status. Okay? So brothers and sisters, please be aware of what is going on or what you're doing. Okay? That's really a wrap. Let me see. I see Sister Phyllis in the building. Hope you checked out the rest of the video. We got some important stuff that we discussed on here, but being enlightened as a more melanated person, there's a lot of study. There's a lot of things you have to look at the fine print. And so these lessons we teaching are for that. So y'all go back and check out our other videos. We got like a lot of videos, like I said, you got a lot of people doing reaction videos, right? But you don't have a lot of people doing reaction videos for Moors. So a lot of our information on here are reaction videos. They're TikToks and other social media platforms that are discussing Moorish and indigenous and, you know, legal, lawful information. Okay. So with that being said, you know, like I said, y'all please thumbs up these videos and y'all share this video. Please share this video. I need that. We need it out here. You know what I mean? So I appreciate everybody. Check me out on the next video. Until then, y'all stay up. Stay strong. Peace. Tutanana.